Let me, before we start a series of 5-minute rounds, ask some questions on behalf of the committee as a whole that we ask of nominees. It speaks to the importance that the committee places on responsiveness by all officials to the executive branch. And I would ask each of you just to give me a verbal yes or no to each question. Do you agree to appear before this committee and make officials from your office available to the committee and designated staff when invited?
Yes.
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 Yes, Senator.
Okay. Do you commit to keeping the committee fully and currently informed about the activities under your purview?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Do you commit to engaging in meaningful consultation while policies are being developed, not just providing notification after the fact?
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
And finally, do you commit to promptly responding to requests for briefings and information requested by the committee and its designated staff?
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you all. For the record, each of the nominees has responded yes to all the questions, so we'll go to a series of 5-minute rounds. Ms. Seftak, in the past 7 years, Peru has had 6 presidents. Pretty remarkable. The level of political instability has significantly affected not only our efforts to strengthen bilateral relations with Peru, but the ability of Peruvian democracy to deliver results for its people, including ensuring their safety and security. I have one of the largest Peruvian diaspora in the nation, and I hear from them all of the time. While protests against the current Boluarte government have decreased since their height in February, President Boluarte and Congress remain highly unpopular, and efforts to address citizen demands, including calls for early elections, have seemingly stalled. Meanwhile, the Peruvian people continue to face growing security, economic, and migration challenges. So what is your assessment of the stability and viability of the Boluarte government, and what steps would you take to work with Peru to strengthen its institutions and be able to meet the ability to respond to the challenges I've just discussed?
Thank you, Senator, for that very important question. So, President Boluarte is in power due to the democratically authorized process in the Constitution, and she is our partner in working to see how the United States can support the government and the people of Peru in emerging from this moment of instability. I think it's critically important that we continue to work with civil society and across the many sectors of Peru to ensure that we understand what the issues are at play and how we as the United States can bring our resources to bear to support both the people and the government of Peru in strengthening the institutions that have, come under question as to their effectiveness. The U.S. Embassy, and thanks to Congress, we have significant resources in USAID and INL. We have a very strong military relationship. Our Peace Corps volunteers just returned to Peru. So I think we're blessed with a number of resources to really understand what the needs of the people of the government of Peru are and how we can support them.
Well, one of the issues there is the question of human rights, and I would expect you to be a strong voice in standing up for human rights within the country. Is that something we can expect?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Brown, last year Congress passed and President Biden signed my U.S.-Ecuador Partnership Act. It's the first standalone piece of legislation dedicated to U.S. foreign policy towards Ecuador. The U.S.-Ecuador Partnership Act requires the State Department, USAID, and other relevant agencies to submit a comprehensive strategy to Congress on how to bolster our bilateral ties, including on issues regarding countering transnational crime, inclusive economic development, protecting Ecuador's environment and natural resources. We expect these strategies to be shared with Congress in June. If confirmed, do you commit to ensuring swift and effective implementation of these strategies and to regularly meet with my office to discuss progress on implementation?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Yes, to answer it specifically and directly. If confirmed as ambassador, my approach would be a whole-of-government approach. The U.S. Partnership Act with Ecuador, it's a very important legislation. The U.S. relationship with Ecuador is strong, and the community development work that's going on with the people of Ecuador is strong. Strengthening democratic institutions and promoting inclusive economic growth, supporting environmental conservation initiatives, and expanding capabilities to address corruption and crime that's going on in Ecuador will be a primary focus. This legislation that you authored, Senator, is something that I will be focusing on as if confirmed as ambassador there. I will be reporting back, and I pledge to work with the committee whenever possible to highlight our successes of how we're implementing the act.
Well, thank you for that. Last month, I traveled to Quito and met with President Lasso during my congressional delegation to South America. This was my second trip to Ecuador in the last 6 months. This is the most democratic president aligned with the United States and its values that we have in the entire hemisphere. That's a pretty big statement. But he is besieged, as are the Ecuadorian people, amid rising levels of drug trafficking, violence, targeted killings of government officials, and so much more. So if you are confirmed, I would ask you to engage robustly in how the United States can help Ecuador meet those challenges as a partner in our collective interests. Is that something I can expect you to do?
Certainly, Senator. We do know right now that Ecuador is a strong partner with the United States. Our engagement, whole of government approach from our program with USAID, INL, OSC, right now is making inroads to help strengthen some of those democratic institutions. I will be reporting back, and you can count on me and my team at the U.S. mission in Quito to be able to respond to all of those elements to help strengthen the security posture in Ecuador.
Thank you. I'll take one other minute. Ms. Lempert, we're both, as the ranking member said, we're very strong supporters of the U.S.-Jordan relationship. I think Jordan's essential. However, I get concerned that not only Jordan but others in the region are cozying up to Assad. And it would be a horrific global statement that after the butchery that Assad has been part of, we now invite him back without consequence. How do you see dealing with that?
Thank you, Senator, for this important question. I want to be clear. Our views on Assad are that he has been the source of nothing but misery for Syria and for the region. The United States will not normalize with the Assad regime, and we do not support others normalizing with Damascus. We have made this abundantly and vocally clear to our partners, and we will continue to do so. The United States believes that a political solution, as outlined in UN Security Council Resolution 2254, is the only solution to a political crisis in Syria. There's clearly an array of views across the Arab world on engagement with the Assad regime. We remind our partners that our sanctions architecture remains in place and will be enforced in accordance with our laws, and also of the primacy and the importance of UN Security Council Resolution 2254. In fact, the Secretary of State is speaking with the Jordanian Foreign Minister this morning to raise our concerns and discuss the meeting that occurred in Jordan on Monday. If confirmed, this will be a priority topic of discussion for me.
Some of the statements coming out of the NSC make me worry that we are diminishing 2254, and that's not something we should do. So I look forward to your engagement. Before I turn to Senator Risch, I know you're known to be somewhat of a shawarma aficionado and have made the point of publicly sampling shawarma during your travels to the Middle East. I know this is going to be a sensitive question, but where's the best shawarma in the Middle East?
Senator, it's a deeply sensitive question. And you can get me in trouble in the region, but I think it will come as no surprise, given where I have been nominated to head to, that in my opinion, it's a close contest, but Jordanian shawarma is without a doubt the best shawarma in the Middle East.
Very well done. I'm going to ask Senator Kaine to preside as the chair of the Western Hemisphere Subcommittee as I go to the floor. Senator Risch.